Hi everyone, welcome to episode 64 of the arieknits podcast. My name is Ariel and this is a video podcast where I talk about all the things that I have been knitting and spinning on in the past week. So today it is Saturday, March 2nd. We are officially in the month of March and it feels both like time is going by very fast and also like it's only March, and I'll explain. But yeah, I just can't believe it is March. It feels like it's going by fast, but when I say that I feel like it is kind of slow, is maybe like when I think about, I was thinking about my knitting and yarn goals this year, and one of them, the big one, is to use more yarn than I bring in this year. So I'm still going to buy yarn this year. Like, I'm not going to stop buying yarn, but I do want to try and lower the amount of yarn I have in my stash. So I was thinking about it and I was like, wow, I've been doing so good not buying that much yarn this year. And I was like, it's only been 2 months of the year. And so in that sense, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's only been 2 months. But at the same time, I'm like, what the heck? Also, because this year was a leap year, so we had an extra day in February, which I guess was kind of nice. I had a classmate in high school whose birthday was on that day. So anyway, we're getting really random right at the top of this video, but I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty energized today. So I've got some progress on the things I've been working on, and I have a new cast on for a test knit I signed up for. Maybe you could guess it if you are on Instagram and kind of follow the same designers that I do, and so I'm excited to share some progress with you on that. And I have an exciting, I swatched for something, and I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I'm excited to talk about it, because maybe if I talk about it, it'll help with my motivation to work on it. So I've got those exciting things, and I've got big updates on spinning too. So this week I did have a little bit more time to knit and spin, and yeah, it was a pretty good week. I'm a little stressed still, work and ice skating, but yeah, today this week was pretty okay. Last night I was able to join a video call with my knitting friends, the Bay Area knitting group, and some of our Seattle group, and it was really nice to see them. I haven't been to knit night here with our Seattle group in a while because I have been studying, so I'm pretty sad about it, but I need to get stuff done. But it was really nice to see them virtually, so it made me feel very happy inside. So anyway, with that, I feel like I got all of that stuff in the beginning. I usually talk about that at the end of the videos, but I just wanted to get that out there in the front of the video. So yeah, let's get started with the normal content for this video. I will start with what I am wearing today. It is not a new finished object. I think I finished this maybe in 2021, so it's been a couple years, but I have been wearing it a lot recently, and I just really like it, and I want to share it with you because I might have referenced it. I don't know if I ever wore it or extensively talked about it on a podcast episode. So I am wearing the Moonset Pullover by Ozetta, and it is actually the first version of this pullover that I've ever made. So I've made two. I've only made two of these, but this is the first time that I made the Moonset Pullover, and I used the recommended yarn like exactly. It was the Cardiff Cashmere Classic yarn in the colorway 511 brown, which is the same one that is in the pattern like pictures. And yeah, I made size extra small, and I used US 7 needles, which is probably the recommended needle size. And surprisingly, when I think back on this, I'm surprised that this came out really nicely, because again, like, I made it in the beginning parts of my knitting, like knitting sweaters and stuff, and so the fit of this, I'm like thinking back, I'm like, I think I may have gotten lucky that it fits so well, because I did not gauge swatch for this at all. This was my first time using this yarn, and it just came out really nicely. I love how this feels. I really love this yarn, and it is 100% cashmere, and so it is very luxurious, very soft and very light, and it's just so enjoyable to wear. Final measurements for this, I checked it now, just in case I did not make notes of measurements when I first cast it off, but I did measure it today before this video, and I have 38 inches in circumference, so that gives me 8 inches of positive ease, and that's actually 1 inch smaller than the size in the pattern. So my gauge is probably just a little smaller than the recommended gauge, but again, it turned out fine and fits me really well. So I will stand up really quickly just so you can see that, and just kind of see like how this kind of flows. It is a little wrinkly, you can see, just because I have been wearing it, and it does kind of like sit in my drawers when I'm not wearing it. But this one I did make as the pattern says to. I didn't make any modifications. I don't believe I did, because back then I'm pretty sure I was too scared to modify anything. So here is that like moonset, like V-neck, not folded over, but like overlapping section, and the sleeves are just, I think they're straight. They are knitted straight, and so you can see that the wrist part is pretty wide as far as like what my preference is. I do like when the wrist part is a little smaller, and so in my second moonset pullover I did make a modification to do decreases at the wrist, but for this one I did not. And it could also, I think my I-cord is probably very loose, and so because when you look at the pattern pictures, it does kind of look like it cinches in a little bit, but my I-cord is just pretty loose, so I think that's probably why. But I do want to note, this has nothing to do with the pattern or how I knit it, but it's just how I wear it. Because sleeves like this kind of bother me, because I can't roll it up and for it to stay, because it's too loose. The way I have been doing it for this sweater is I just like fold it all the way up like this, and that stays. So sometimes it's just like how I end up wearing it also. Like, it's not pretty. This is not how I would go out and wear this, but when I'm home and I'm doing stuff, I would just roll up the sleeves like this. So just fun fact about how I wear my sweaters sometimes. And okay, I want to talk really quickly about this yarn, because it is 100% cashmere, which sounds like it would be very expensive, and it is expensive. And since I bought this yarn so long ago, this was before I had like any knitting friends. I was knitting by myself. I just like didn't have anyone else to talk to about knitting. I don't know. I didn't know where to buy this yarn, or like I think I looked where to buy this yarn and I just saw someone say you buy it at this site, and I bought it, and I was like, yeah. When I thought back on this yarn, I was like, was it that expensive? Because people talk about this yarn, I've heard people talk about this yarn, and they're like, it is so expensive. And I was like, I don't remember spending an extreme amount of money to make this sweater. And it is still expensive. I know I spent a good amount of money, but not something absolutely ridiculous, because I did need, I believe it was like 10 balls of yarn for this, and they come in 25-gram balls of yarn. I don't know what the yardage is for each of them, but I think for my size, and it is a smallest size, so less yarn than the bigger sizes, but I think I needed 10. And I looked on some websites, and like US websites, they're selling for like $28, $38 per ball of yarn, per 25-gram ball of yarn of this Cardiff Cashmere Classic yarn. And I was like, there is no way. I do not think that back in 2021, I would be spending that much money to make this sweater. But I was like, how much did I pay for this sweater? So I found out, and I don't know what it is, but it could be just because I didn't buy it from a US website, because there is like a conversion from euros to US dollars. But I bought this yarn from arieknits.com, and I have the website linked in the description with where I'm talking about the Moonset Pullover section. It should be at the top. arieknits.com, and it is so much cheaper. It is like, I guess with the conversion rate, it's about $12 per ball of yarn, which, yes, it is still expensive, but compared to $30, $12 versus $30 for a ball of yarn, like that's pretty much half. You're paying half the price than if you bought it from somewhere that's selling it for $30 per ball of yarn. Anyway, I just thought that was crazy, and I was like, yeah, okay, because I don't remember paying like $300 for this sweater, because I don't think I would have done that. I don't know if I would do that now, but definitely back in 2021, I don't think I would have done that. So yeah, I bought this yarn, the Cardiff Cashmere Classic, from arieknits.com. And you do have to pay for shipping, but again, even with the shipping, like, it is so much cheaper than some other places I've seen for this yarn. So if you're curious about this yarn, I would check out that website if that price point still seems doable for you, because it is so nice to wear. And I will note that I did buy this yarn for another project after I made this sweater, because I loved it so much, and that project also had this yarn as like the recommended yarn, and I think the gauge for that one was a little tighter, and so I do think gauge will definitely affect how this yarn drapes and feels, most importantly, because on this one, like this sweater pattern, it feels so soft, and so I don't want to say fluffy, because it's not it's not like Surrey fluffy, but it just has like that nice kind of feel and softness. And on my other sweater, it is still nice and soft, but it definitely feels more dense and less soft and fluffy and drapey. So gauge is also kind of like a thing that that really makes a difference on how the fabric feels when you knit with this yarn. But I love it with this Moonset Pullover, and yeah, so that's all I have to say about that. I just want to share that with you all, because I do think this yarn is beautiful, and I love it in the Moonset Pullover. And I've been wearing it a lot, so I just wanted to reflect that. Okay, that's all I have to say about that for now, and let's move on to my whips. So we are starting off, as we have been for some time now, my Sweet Shop Blanket by Laura Penrose. Again, I am using the Pasley Knits 2023 Seasons Boxes sock sets, and each week I am planning on trying to get 4 squares done on this blanket, and the 4 squares would be basically from like one sock set. So 2 squares using the main skein, the variegated full skein, and then 2 squares using the mini skein. So I will show you the 4 squares for this week. It is these 4 right here. Very bright colors this week, and it has the pink variegated this week. I think it's too many colorways for me to share them all in the description down below, but every week I try to make sure I say what the colorways are, but if you do have any questions about it, I would be happy to answer those questions for you in the comments. This week, so this was the full skein variegated. It is just a very bright pink. It's bright, but it's also dark, if that description even makes sense at all. It is Bougainvillea and Aperol Spritz, which is the tonal mini skein, and it's this like very bright orange. So yeah, it's so summery. This is the third sock set, and when I say third, it just means the third one I'm using from the set. They weren't like numbered or anything, but yeah, this is the third sock set from the summer box from Pasley Knits. And so let me show you all of the summer ones so far. Right from here, trying to get that corner done in there. Yeah, so I feel like these two were a lot, like they were still very kind of like bright and summery, but they're definitely lighter in, I guess, like color, I don't know what word I'm trying to think of, but like these are definitely more like saturated. I think that's the word I'm talking about or wanting to say. So yeah, we are almost done. Okay, I've noticed that I've been saying we a lot, and I just mean I'm the only one knitting on this. But I think when I say we, I just feel like I'm sharing this with you all, and so I feel like we're all in this together kind of thing. So I do apologize if that's strange, because I'm noticing it. Someone brought it to my attention once, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm being weird. Okay, but this is what we have so far for the summer squares. I've got one more sock set to go for the summer sock sets, and I'm really excited to get that done. Let me show you just everything we have. So again, I started with the spring, and you can totally tell that like the vibe and the color themes are just so different, but I think it's really fun, and I'm still very much enjoying making this blanket. So pretty much this is going to be the full width of the blanket. It will end up being 8 squares by 8 squares, so it will be a square, like overall shape of the entire blanket, but this is what like that whole width and I guess height will end up being, and I think I do like that size. I think it'll be good for, yeah, like it won't be, as tall as me, like to have as kind of like, I guess like a full-size something, but it's going to be very handy when the weather gets cooler to just have on my lap or to cover my feet and or hang it around me like a shawl. So yeah, that's what I have so far. And oh yeah, the main color, which is just that plain color that I'm using for the rest of the squares, it's just a bare undyed yarn. I keep forgetting, or I feel like I keep forgetting to say that, just because the most interesting part is the contrast colors that I'm just using a whole bunch of in the sock sets. So yeah, this one makes me very happy. I am excited to work on the 4th one because that has also another pink color in it. So yeah, I will show that to you all next time. But that is the progress on my Sweet Shop blanket. And it's so fun to fold this up now because I can just fold it up into like a little thing, and it's looking very blanket-y, blanket-like. So that's, yeah, it's good. It's good. It's going to be a heavy blanket because it is, I am holding the yarn double so that I get more of like a DK weight gauge with it. So yeah, it's going to be a pretty big, like a hefty blanket weight-wise. But again, I think it'll be good, especially during the winter. Ooh, the sun's coming in now. That's really nice. Okay, next up, I have a little progress on my Midnight Jasmine wrap by Alexi, 2 of Wands. And this is one of my very old projects that I am going to get done this year. I think I can get it done within the next couple of months. I'm very excited for that. and I'm just trying to get small progress done every week. And again, this happened last week and this week also. I did not touch it at all for the entire week until this morning, and so I made 7 flowers this morning to finish up row 7. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So I just finished row 7. This is my stitch marker. This was the last flower I made last week. And so I went from there to here. I made 7 flowers, and yeah, we get to move on to the next row. And again, this is a triangle shaped wrap, and so each row has less and less flowers to make. Oh, this is also a crochet project. So the flowers are each individually crocheted. They are connected as you make it, so you don't have to like sew together all the flowers. And I've also been weaving in the ends after each flower, and there's only 2 ends to weave in per flower, thank goodness. And so it definitely is, it's a good idea to weave in the ends after you do each flower. And yeah, so that's what the back looks like. You don't really see the ends. So yeah, it's been going well. It does feel pretty good to just change up whatever like the motion is of my hands, like kind of like switching between knitting and spinning, and also crochet, different motion. I feel like it helps with not feeling really burnt out or sore doing, you know, the exact same motion. So it is kind of nice to pick up a crochet project sometimes. So yeah, this is how it looks right now. I guess like I want to try and show you the triangle shape because you can't really see that, but the width of this at its widest is almost like the full length of my arms, I guess, stretched out. And so if you can see, I guess I'll just hold them on one side. So I'm holding at the widest section, and you can see that it's starting to go diagonally that way. So but yeah, that's the shape for that. I am using Lion brand yarn. It is the 2 of Wands Color Theory yarn, and I'm just using 6 different colors. I do have each of the colorway names in the description down below. And yeah, this is a 1 size shawl or wrap, and I'm using 3.75 millimeter crochet hook, but it is like a lot of sizes down from the pattern because my crochet gauge is very, very, very loose. So yeah, that is progress on this. And then, oh, okay, I keep wanting to say this about the yarn. I did want to mention this yarn. I think ever since I started spinning, I've paid a lot more attention to the yarn that I use to knit with or crochet with. And this is a very interesting yarn. Maybe actually I should have brought like the ball of it so I could show it to you, but it is like, it's actually very splitty, and I don't know if that's like the right way to describe it, but when I'm crocheting, when I'm trying to loop through, I always kind of like miss the loops in the plies. And so I think it is like a 10 ply yarn, but it's like, I believe so anyway. I think it's 10 and it's not like 8. 1, 2, 3, or it might be an 8 ply yarn. Actually, it might be an 8 ply yarn, but the plies are like, it is a 2 ply, 2 ply, 2 ply, 2 ply, and then the 4 of those are plied together. So whenever it like splits, and whenever I like accidentally, like when I'm the hook part of my crochet hook, like when it's trying to loop through or grab the loop through, I always get stuck in between between the 2 plies. So it's kind of annoying. Like, I can deal with it. It's not that problematic, but it is something I've noticed. It must have happened when I started this project, but it's not something I really kind of like, I guess, thought about it and what was happening until recently. So yeah, I just think that that's pretty interesting, and I just wanted to share that with you all. But other than that, like, the yarn is very squishy, and I think it'll be a really nice kind of like feeling garment to wear and put over. So yeah, okay, that is now everything I have to say about the Midnight Jasmine wrap. Next up, I have progress on the leg warmers that I'm making for my skating coach. I finished one side. Yay. Now I have to make a second one. But okay, here is my progress from last week. This is my stitch marker, and so I really overall, I didn't have too much more to go. This is basically, I am using Knit Picks Swish DK yarn in the colorway Marble Heather. And each ball of yarn is 50 grams, and so I used 2 balls of yarn to make this. It's more like 2 and a little bit of a third one, just because during my cast off, I just needed a little bit, you can see it, during the cast off, I ended it right here. This is where I ran out of yarn. I was like, I can't finish it, and so I needed just this much more yarn of my third ball to cast off. But it's okay because I bought 6, and so I have a whole bunch of yarn. And I don't have to worry about running out. This is like a self-drafted leg warmer. I based it off of the lovely ribbed leg warmers by Purl Soho, which is a free pattern, but I did not follow the stitch count. I did not do any increases. So but all it is, it's a 2x2 ribbed straight tube. Worked in the round. I did a stretchy cast on, and I also did a stretchy bind off, just to help with that, because you don't want any part of the leg warmer to be really tight, especially because the rest of it, the whole entire thing, is really stretchy. I just wanted both ends to be stretchy as well, although the cast off is a lot more stretchy than my cast on, bind off. Anyway, yeah, where I bound off is stretchier than my cast on, but it's still very stretchy, so I think it all worked out. And I did have my coach, I think I said this the other week, she did try it on. I didn't have her try on this finished one yet, but I believe that it's going to fit since she tried it on what I had the week before, and so I'm excited to get this to her pretty soon, hopefully. I do have to make a second one. That will be the exact same thing, but it should go by pretty fast. I am anticipating working on this a lot this coming week, and hoping to get it done within the next couple of weeks at least, or at the most. And yeah, I actually really like how this yarn feels. It's very squishy, and I think that the ribbing kind of helps with that squishy feeling. I just like unraveling yarn now that I spin. So this is a 4-ply DK weight yarn, superwash merino, and I mostly chose it because I knew that it was a nice yarn to work with, and it's superwash merino, and so it is. You probably don't want to machine wash it too much anyway, but because I am gifting it to someone who, whenever I make something for someone, I don't normally want to make it with something they have to hand wash, because I don't know, none of the people I've knit stuff for is really kind of like that, what's the word? I don't know if they would want to do that to take care of their knits, and I want to make them something that they would like to wear and is easy for them to maintain. So something that is machine washable is preferable for when I gift a knitted thing to someone. So that was kind of like my main reason for choosing this yarn, but I would actually really I've been wanting to make myself leg warmers for skating for so long, but I was just like, it just seems so boring to knit on. But now that I'm knitting this for my coach, I'm like, I want some for myself. So I don't know if I can get myself to knit another pair of these for myself very soon after I finish these, but maybe this year, sometime this year, I would want to make some for myself. These should go about or above the knee, so it is a very long leg warmer. I don't know how I could even show you how. I don't know how to show you how long this is, but it's longer than a sleeve, non-stretched, because when you stretch it out this way, which is how it will be when you put it over a leg, it will shorten it a little bit, but when I put it on my own leg, it definitely goes above my knee, so should be able to go above the knee of my skating coach. And that was the length she recommended, or that she asked for, so yeah, that is the leg warmers. And I think that's all I have notes-wise for that. And next up, I have lots of progress done on this test knit. This is this cowl now has a name. It is the Brioche Blur Cowl, and it is by Bridget. It's a pattern by Bridget, and this is a test knit, and I am using 2 different kinds of yarn for this. And so the first one, which is this color changing one, you can see mostly in this section, and I guess partly in this section too, is a Handspun yarn by me. It is a Cormo fiber from Nest Fiber, and the colorway is Garden Path. And I am using, my other yarn is Exploreknits Denali Sock in the colorway Drift, and I think it really matches well together. And progress-wise, here's my stitch marker, and so I worked all of this. This is I'm like all over the place talking about the knits today. This is a one size pattern, but it's very adjustable to knit it to another size that you want. I am using US 4 needles for this, and I did have to size up needles. And there are 3, this is knit in the round, and there are 3 main stitch sections for this. So it starts off with a garter stitch, which you would use, for me, I use my Handspun only for this section, which is right here. And then the second section, which is right here, it uses 2 of the yarn at the same time, and it is like a brioche, alternating brioche section. So you can still see those color changing, the color changing Handspun yarn, but it has the stitches alternate between that and my tonal Exploreknits color. And I finished that section, and I started the third section, which is another kind of alternating brioche section, but you can see it kind of does it's alternating, but there's kind of sections, and then it alternates and switches where that main knit or purl, brioche knit and brioche purl, where they are in that stitch pattern. And I think it looks really fun, and it's also really squishy in this section. So yeah, that is where I am at right now with my cowl. And in the end, it is knit in the round, as you can see here, and I guess here. But in the end, you will graft it together, and so that it'll go around your neck like this. You'll graft the ends together and wear it around like this. So that's where that length is. The length that you're knitting is actually going to be the circumference of the cowl, and it will have a twist. So you will actually twist it and then graft it together. And I haven't done that with a knit before. So yeah, I'm excited to have a knit that has that twist, and then you graft it together. So yeah, it's overall just been a really fun knit. As you can tell, I just kind of really went for it and knit on it a lot this week, and I'm pretty close to finishing it. And so I do think that if not next week or this coming week, the week after, I would definitely have this finished, and excited to show it to you all. And I really have been, after knitting my first cowl, which was another pattern by Bridget, last year, I was like, oh my gosh, why have I not been knitting more cowls? They're amazing. So I'm excited to have my second cowl in my wardrobe, and I'm looking forward to making even more cowls. So, and it's a bonus because I'm using Handspun. It's such a great pattern to use Handspun and to show off your Handspun yarn, especially if there's color changing. It's a great project to use a color changing yarn, but also Bridget's version, her second color changing yarn, was also a Handspun. And so I think if you have like a slightly smaller amount, or one skein or so of a non-colored handspun paired with a color changing handspun, that would also be really cute, and also show off some squishiness from that as well because of the brioche. And so overall, I just think it's a really great pattern and a fun one to work on. I think what adds to the fun for this too is because that there are 3 distinct sections. You never really get too tired of working on knitting this tube, I guess, because once you're kind of done with one, you're like, ooh, okay, next one, different stitch pattern, using different kinds of thinking and brain power to knit through it. So yeah, it's been very enjoyable to work on this, and I'm very close to finishing, so also excited about that. And next up I have, this one is a project I would say I worked on this the most this week. This is the Traveler's Shell by Andrea Mowry, and I am using Pasley Knits Sailing Sport base, which is the 100% baby alpaca yarn base, in the colorway Golden Pavillion. And let me hold it up. I can now hold it up and for it to actually look like something now. So last time I showed this to you. First, I'm knitting size 2. I'm using US 2 needles, that's for the ribbing, and US 4 for the rest of the body. And it is a bottom up construction. It is a drop shoulder, and it is a short sleeve cardigan. There are no sleeves on this. So yeah, no sleeves. But the last time I talked about this, bottom up, I finished knitting up to the underarm, and I finished, I believe, the right front. And so this past week, I finished knitting from the underarm to the top of the left front, so underarm to the shoulder, or the neck shoulder, front part, and then also the entire back from the underarms to the top of the back. So that was all done this week. And I also then connected, it is a 3 needle bind off at the top of the shoulders to connect the fronts and back. And I think I didn't know how I felt about the 3 needle bind off with the seam showing, so that bump that gets created showing at the top. And I think Andrea Mowry really likes that aesthetic. But I think especially for this pattern, it really makes sense to have the 3 needle bind off seam shown at the top, because the whole texture of this cardigan has basically those ridges, and so having that extra line is actually very nice. I think that it just matches it really nicely, and so you see those 2 seams at the top of each side. I mean, it just really blends in nicely with the stitch pattern. And was I even showing the right one? Yeah, right here. And you can see that there is shaping done on the fronts and back at the very top. Let me try and hold this steady so you can see. This is where the seam where it was connected, and you can see that there is a slant. So let me just show it to you like this. So there is shaping so that from the neck to the neck shoulder, I guess neck to kind of like the shoulder, like where your arm is, there is a, they're shaping so that there's a slant, I guess, on both the front and back. So that all worked out really well. I just really enjoyed working on this. It feels a bit more tedious to work on than stockinette knitting. This is worked flat, so I thought that maybe it would feel like working on stockinette because you just knit for one row or purl for one row and you know, alternating at different kind of rates, but there's something about this stitch pattern that made it feel like it kind of just took a long time. I think it's because the times where you have to purl one row and then purl the next row, so there's like 2 purl rows next to each other, that I'm like, ugh, it just takes so long. But I know that I really want the end product of this, and it has been on my needles for some time, and I just want to get this done. Also, maybe perfect timing now to work on it because there is a knit along for Andrea and Mowry. I think there's 2 that this could technically count for. I think there's like the spin it to knit it knit along, which is a whole year, pretty much a year, and it's all, I think, all of the traveler type garments that she has, and you don't have to spin for it, so this would not be like a spun project, but it could count because it's a traveler. But also there's the March to May knit along that I think that this could count for. I think it's just sweaters and cardigans or something, like bigger projects, but there was, when she announced it, there was a picture of this in it, and so I think that could count even though there's like no sleeves on this. But yeah, so I did want to show you that there are no sleeves, but when you'll kind of see, it does kind of look like there's like a short sleeve, but I didn't do like a pickup and then knit a little bit for this sleeve necessarily. What it is, and she's done this for other sweater patterns for like the drop shoulder, just to make it more dramatic, is that once you knit to the underarm, you cast on stitches on both the front and back pieces, and you just knit more to the top. And then when it comes time to like doing the sleeve, or in this case just the cuff, you seam those extra stitches under the arm together. And then all I did really for this sleeve for this is you just pick up and do the ribbing. Like that's all that was. So I did also, after seaming to get, or not seaming, but doing the 3 needle bind off to connect the front and back. And I love doing that for bottom up because then you can actually hold it up and you can see what the shape of this would look like. I did do the ribbing after that for one side, and I'm so happy. I can get this done really soon if I keep working on this, which I will. I want to, there's so many new things I want to cast on. I think I say this every time. So many new things I want to cast on, but I really need to cast off. I need to finish projects first before I cast on more things. So yeah, this is one of those projects. I'm like, just get it done. So we are here. All I have to do next, and it's actually, there's still more knitting to do. I have to finish the cuff for this side. Oh, I can show you what I mean by the seam because I didn't seam the underarms for this. So yeah, this is what that looks like, and they're not seamed together here, but before you work on the cuff, you seam these together, and then you can pick up for the cuff around here. So yeah, so I just have to do that for that side. I have to do the, I guess like the neckband, like the all the way around neckband. There's no buttons for this. And then there's 2 pretty big sized pockets for this, and I do want to make the pockets. You definitely don't have to make the pockets for this, but I would like to have pockets on this, so I will have to knit that as well. What I should have done is knit the pockets first to use as a gauge swatch, but I didn't. I didn't even think about it. But then I've seen people do it, and I was like, oh, that would have been really smart, but I already started. So yeah, one more sleeve ribbing, the all over, neckband ribbing and 2 pockets. So I think I could get that done within the next couple of weeks. And then we'll have my first finished traveler type project for Andrea Mowry. I have plans to make more of the traveler projects by her. And so again, this is the traveler shell. And I have plans to make the traveler hoodie, the traveler shawl, and honestly, probably also the cowl. I was thinking I probably don't have to do that, but like, wouldn't that be so cute with Handspun as well? I think it'd be very cute. I definitely will be making the shawl with some Handspun. So, yeah. That is what I have on this so far, and I'm very, very looking forward to the finished project for this. I think the yarn is going to drape so nicely because it is an alpaca yarn, and it's just so soft. So yeah, that is the traveler shell. Okay, next up, I made another, I want to say big progress, but it's just like fun progress. Something that I think is interesting to show you all, not just like, oh look, I made more of the exact same thing, just more length. Which again, is still good to show, but maybe is boring to see. I don't know. This is the Verglass wrap by Lindsay Fowler, and this is the one that I am nicknaming the soup shawl because I am planning the pattern. Sorry, my yarn is getting all tangled. The pattern was made to use sock sets, like full sock sets, either 3 full sock sets or 4 full sock sets. And by full, I mean the entire skein, the entire 100-gram skein, also with the full mini as well. So, and I have 4 sock sets from Coast to Coast Yarn Co., and they were all the soup sock sets. Very cute, and they all look so cute together, and so I thought it would go really well together. I am still on the first sock set, but I've did the section where you use the mini, so I can actually show you a little bit more on how this might look. So specifically, the yarn, the sock set I'm using for this is Split Pea for the main skein, which is the green. And the mini, which is this brown stripe right here, is called Crusty Loaf. And so, yeah, you can actually now see a little bit better how this would look. So the size I'm making is a size large, which is just the 4 sock sets versus the 3. But it's kind of, each sock set follows the same template of pattern. So the first half of your main skein, you knit this stitch pattern here, and you'll see that it's just like a stockinette. There's like kind of like a ribbing column thing going on, but one of them is like stockinette and the other is like a garter stitch. And so that's what's going on. There are some like really nice kind of like bordering details. It's kind of hard to show because it's kind of curling up there. But the first half of your full skein is that. And then you move on to having this section where you use your mini skein. And there are 4 different stitch patterns you can choose from in any order you want. Or you can probably choose your own too if you want. But this is the first one, which has this kind of like diamond pattern going on with, it's not really ribbing, but it is like, oh, like the twisted stitch thing going on, so it has that stitch pattern. And one thing I didn't really pay attention to when I like first saw the pattern, I just knew I liked it. I didn't realize that there is really nice kind of bordering details between each section. So there is kind of like a garter stitch, like one row to separate where that like your main skein ends until you start the mini skein. And then there is this, I forget what the name is called, but it is like that vertical horizontal braid going on both the start and end of the mini skein, and so it looks like your knit stitches but horizontal, if I'm making any kind of sense, like just right there, to just have that nice clean line between the sections. And then when you move back to using your main skein again, you have like that garter or the purl bump row, and then you start again with the same stitch pattern that you had done previously. So each sock set pretty much follows this pattern where you work half of it in this stitch pattern, and then you use your mini skein to do some fun kind of stitch pattern in the middle, and then repeat again for your full skein. And then you just connect them all, and then you get your full wrap, your full shawl. And so this has been very fun and meditative to work on, and yeah, I've just been really liking it. I like looking at the colors, and it just excites me every time I see this, because I'm like, soup shawl, soup shawl. So yeah, I don't know why I'm so excited about this shawl, but I love things that are themed together, especially when I can do like multiple yarn that came from the same collection into one like cohesive, nice project together. So yeah, that is my Verglass wrap by Lindsay Fowler. And oh, let me just show you what this yarn looks like in the skein. So this is about halfway left. I think this might, I've worked a few rows now past the halfway point, so this is probably a little less than 50 grams left, but that's probably about where I'm at on that. All right. Oh, and I'm using US 5 needles for this. I think that might be the recommended needle size. Yeah. Okay, speaking of more things. Okay, I have this is like, I do kind of struggle with like working on new projects because I'm really excited about them, and then wanting to work on older projects because those should really just get done with because they have been on my needles the longest. But I do have progress on my Daft Days shawl by Rebecca Clow, and it is now getting bigger, like a lot bigger, so it's getting squished on my needles, but I will do my best to kind of show you what I have. I just worked on it a little bit this week just because this is one of those projects that, yeah, I really just need to work on it and get it done because, and I think I say this a lot, I want to cast on so many shawls, so I should probably finish some shawls before I cast on more. So this is one of them. Not that I don't enjoy working on it, but it is kind of like, it grows. This one is a triangle shawl, but it grows outwards, and so each row starts to get longer, and so it's just starting to feel a little bit like it just takes a very long time to get through rows. But this is I should use like a bigger stitch marker so you can see, but I started the week about here, and I've worked this much this week, so yeah, small progress, but still progress. I am using Lavender Fiber Co. Valentine's Day Advents minis for this, and it's a one size shawl, but you can like keep adding rows or make it shorter if you want to. I'm using US 3 needles for this, and yeah, it's just, I think it's really cute. Like the colors are very cute. It is kind of fadey in some sections, but there is clearly kind of like a more white stripe and then a more pink stripe that's kind of going on. But yeah, I think it'll just be a really cute, very pink kind of shawl to have. And the stitch pattern is very repetitive, and so it does feel meditative, and yeah, most times I work on it. So yeah, I just gotta get going on this. But I think right now I am prioritizing my test knits, And then after that, I'm so close to getting my traveler, not shawl, traveler, oh my gosh, traveler shell done with. And so I want to just like get done with that. And then maybe this will be the next thing that I really focus on to just like get it done. But yeah, that is the Daphne shawl progress. And then I have one more knitting thing to share with you all. This is a new cast on. It is a test knit, and I just had to sign up. I saw the test call come out and I immediately signed up because I was like, I just have to make this. This is the Skyline Tee by Tori Yu, and I have been, ever since I saw the Skyline pullover, I've been wanting to make it. Also because my friend Megan test knit the pullover, and I was like, it's so cute. I really want to make it. I just like don't have yarn and stash for it. And so, you know, it just kind of gets put off until I can use more yarn and justify buying more yarn for something like that. But Skyline Tee came out, and it's so cute. I think part of it is also because she made her version in Explore Knits Pike Place colorway, which is that red color, and it's the color I used for my, oh my gosh, what was it called? One of my tank tops that has like the ruffle. It's a Sorry Nordland design, and I love that color. Anyway, so it brought my attention to it, and I was like, it's very cute. I want to make it, and I had so many yarn options to pick to make this, but I really just felt like I want to make it using Explore Knits yarn, and so that's what I did. I am using, so Tori Yu used I believe it was like the non-superwash yarn from Explore Knits, which I don't have, but I do have a lot of Denali sock base, and so that is what I am using. And I'm using it in the Morning Ritual colorway, which is also from, so the red color Tori Yu used in her version is from the Seattle collection, and Morning Ritual is also from the Seattle collection, and it was a variegated, and I originally bought this colorway as a sock set, so it was actually paired with the mini of Pike Place, and so that's kind of how I tied it together to use it for this tee. And then I bought a second skein to make a top, and yeah, I was like, whoa, perfect timing to use it for this. So it is, Morning Ritual is a variegated colorway, as you can see here. It is like a brown orangey red. Actually, let me try and roll this out some more so you can see more of that color. And I really like it. I'm very excited to see how this knits up some more. And this is, the Skyline Tee is a saddle shoulder. So you do start off with the tops of the shoulder, and it is a 3x1 rib. So it's 3 knit stitches, 1 purl. I will say, I was not sure whether or not I should use a variegated yarn for this top, because with a variegated, it's probably a lot harder to see this shoulder detail. Just to see that it's a 3x1 stitch like section here. But I'm probably going to make another version of this top anyway in a tonal color, so I just thought, I just want to have fun with it and make one with a variegated yarn. But you do start off with those 2 shoulder sections, and then you pick up and start working on the back. And the 2 skeins, so I have 2 skeins, and I am knitting size 1. I'm using US 3 needles, which I believe is a recommended needle size. The yardage, I'm actually a little short. I think my size calls for 813 yards in the pattern, but the Denali sock is 400 yards per skein, so that gives me 800. So I am short 13 yards, and I'm hoping I will still be okay. Like, I'm hoping I won't come out super short. Like, if I have to make this slightly cropped, I think that that'll be okay, but I think I should be safe, especially if Tori puts in kind of like a buffer amount of yardage. I hope it'll be okay anyway. So, yeah. What else do I have to say? Oh, I am alternating skeins for this. Sort of, kind of. Not everywhere. So, each of the shoulder pieces, I did not alternate skeins. I just worked with one of the skeins because it's so small and short. Wouldn't really bother me, I think. And then the top of the back. So this is the back. There's short rows that are done, and I don't think you can really alternate skeins with short rows. And so I just, again, use the same skein that I used to make the shoulders for that. But once I started working flat from, right here, where the stitch marker is down to where my needles are right now, I started alternating every 2 rows between my skeins because when I have the thought of potentially alternating skeins for a project, it's really hard in the wound up skein to see whether or not, like, how different the colorways are between the skeins. And so what I do is I will just skein up, because I usually don't skein up everything for a project. I will just do it one at a time. But if I am concerned that the skeins will look different, I will wind them all up. And when they're wound up, it is a lot easier to see differences between skeins. And so what I do is I look at them like this, and make sure you look at it in good light, and you can kind of just get an overall sense of the different colors, or just the differences in colors between the skeins. They look very similar. They don't look like outrageously different, but I do think that this one has a lot more white in it than this one. And so just because of that, I am alternating skeins. I feel like if I didn't, it would be fine, but I don't know. I felt like I had the brain space to alternate skeins for this project. So that is what I'm doing. I think once I knit more on the back, I might be able to see if there's really kind of like a big difference between them knit up, but I mean, maybe. Does it look a lot more white from under the stitch marker than it does above? Possibly, kind of, but not something super noticeable unless you know exactly what to look for, I think. But I do really like how this colorway is working up, and I've just been waiting. I've been wanting to knit with this yarn for so long. I've been waiting for a project to kind of come out at me and be like, knit me with this yarn. Because I also have this colorway in Surrey, and I want to make something with that as well. So, yeah, that is my second test knit I have on my needles. I am hoping to not do too many. I don't want to have that many test knits going on at the same time, but I really wanted to do this one. So, yeah, I'm very happy I got chosen for it as well, because I think she got a lot of applications for this test knit. So, yeah, so that's fun. Also, a lot of my friends are also in this test knit. I think it's so funny. So I'm excited to see everyone's versions of this as well. And that is all I have for my knitting projects. I do want to share with you all. I mentioned I made a swatch for a thing, and so I have this as kind of like future plan type of thing, because I won't be working on this anytime soon. I just needed to get this swatch out, and I just don't know when I'm going to pick this back up again, but I'll give you background first before I show you the swatch. So, was it last week? Must have been last weekend. I watched the movie Maestro I think it's on Netflix. It's about Leonard Bernstein. And I mean, anytime there's some kind of knitted something in a movie, I'm like, oh, like I take notice. And there's some cool knitted stuff. I mean, there weren't a lot, but when there were, I think like Bradley Cooper, who played Leonard Bernstein, he had like a cardigan, or was it a sweater, that looked like he used variegated yarn. I was like, that's very interesting. Like, I wonder, it was very cable-y, and I was like, ooh, interesting. And then it was actually a very sad part of the movie. Carey Mulligan, I don't think I've seen her act in anything before. She was great in this movie. Wow. But yeah, it was a certain section, I think towards the end of the movie, she was wearing this cardigan that I was like, oh my gosh, I need a version of it. I really, really, really want a version of it. It was a white cardigan. It looked very light, and it had, if you do look up a picture of this, and I don't think I could post a picture of that in this video because it's like probably a copyrighted image, it's like an image from a movie. So, but if you Google like Carey Mulligan Maestro cardigan, although no one's talking about that cardigan, so nothing will really come up, but I think it was a pretty like big scene in the movie. Not really a big scene, but like it was a very, I think, impactful part of the movie. So there is a screenshot of it. She's wearing this white cardigan and it has a bow. Like it's a cardigan and it has some like eyelets all around it, and then there's a tied bow at the top, and I think it's so cute. And I haven't seen a knitting pattern like that, or like exactly like that, or anyway. I was like, maybe this is my opportunity to try and knit something like totally self-drafted by me. So with all of that background information, which I don't know if is really that helpful, I decided I wanted to make a little swatch of this stitch pattern, because I was also like, it was definitely like, machine knit. It wasn't like a hand knit, because it's very, very small stitches on her cardigan. So it would look different hand knit because it would be bigger stitches, but I just wanted to see what it would maybe look like. So anyway, I made a swatch. Here it is. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. Oh, I guess I could say the yarn that I used for this. I decided to use a Sorella cashmere sock. It's the colorway New Orleans Square, which is, just this really nice pink color. And just also because I love pink. So, because I was like, I could just make a white version so it matches the movie a lot more. But I was like, I really would like a pink one of this. So, all I did here, like, it's just stockinette knitting. But there are these, I guess obvious, like, eyelet. Are they called eyelets? Like the holes, basically, where I did yarn overs. They're just yarn overs in one column, and then I just did like maybe 4 knit stitches and then another section of yarn overs. So it's like knitting this flat. On the right side you do like a yarn over, and then on the back side, the wrong side, you just purl it, and so that's how you get that kind of stitch looking there. And there's something about this stitch pattern, could you really say, like that I think it looks really nice. It's classy, but not like too overly, like it has like, there's a design, but it's not crazy. Like it's not like a whole bunch of intricate somethings, but it just adds a little something. So I just made a swatch because I just needed to know what that would maybe look like in like a hand knit swatch with the fingering weight yarn. And this would be just kind of like all over, like around. I guess the only problem would be like if the columns are going to be this size, like if the eyelet columns are going to be separated by this much stitches, it might be really hard sizing wise to get it to work for that quote pattern repeat to work to certain sizes. So I haven't really thought about how I would make this for myself yet, but I have the swatch, and so it is here and ready for me to, whenever I decide I want to spend some time to think about how I would turn this into a cardigan. but I just wanted to share that with you all because I felt very inspired in the moment to do that. So yeah, so that's way future plans. Don't expect to see anything about this literally anytime soon. I just don't know when I could have the brain space to figure this out, but it's a plan. It's something I did, and so I did want to share it with you all. Okay, now it's all done talking about any kind of knitting. Let's talk about spinning now. This might not be that interesting because it's kind of the same things, but I finished spinning some sections of my fiber of the same projects that I've been spinning on, but I did want to share for my big sweater spin that I am spinning. I have finished another 4 ounces of fiber. This is the John Arbin Textiles Yarnadelic top. It's 100% Falklands Corriedale, and the colorway is called the Beautiful Ones, and it's just this really nice color. That took me too long to think of the word, but you can see that there's just like a lot of colors going on that just get, when you spin it, it gets like spun together, and just it's an overall looks kind of grayish, but when you really look into it, you can see like blue, yellow, and like red, which kind of turns out pink after all the blending, but I'm very excited about this. So finished another 4 ounces, another bobbin, even though it's not totally filled, but I'm excited. This is now 3 out of 6. So we're halfway with done spinning my singles for my sweater spin. And then I also finished my other spin, which is I'm calling my sock spin because this is a Union fiber. It's a Corriedale nylon 80/20. It's my first spin using a fiber that has Corriedale, that has nylon in it. And I finished spinning the singles. So this is all 4 ounces. I've never spun 4 ounces onto my Ladybug bobbin, which is smaller than my electric eel wheel bobbin. So now I know I can spin, it can fit 4 ounces on there, so that's really nice. The colors are very blended, and so I am planning later today to ply it up and finish it. So that's very exciting. This is my first spinning project that I have been trying to document my spinning of it and hoping to get a video out of it at the end that goes from start to finish of me spinning this, and so that you can see the whole process of me spinning this. So yeah, I will be spending later today just videotaping me doing the rest of the process for me to finish this. So that would be plying, washing, and all of that stuff. So yeah, I'm excited to see how this plies up together. Yeah, the colors look very nice. I'm very happy with it. And that is all I have to talk about for this week. I hope that you had a great week. I hope you're having a great day. And feel free to let me know in the comments down below what you have been working on while listening or watching this podcast, because I do love hearing about it. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below as well. And I think that I will be busy next weekend, so there won't be a regular podcast video, but I'm hoping to get my spinning video up next weekend in kind of replacement so that there's still a video that goes up next weekend. But with that, I hope you all have a great week, and I cannot wait to talk to you all again in the next video. Bye!